It's your boy Zay-P, Zay-P that I am. I am that I am, as you are that you are, for we are all that we are. And your boy's back at it, back with a brand new video. So that's what I'm going to get into today. Just talk a little bit about this journey of the wounded healer. Now, if you've never heard of this term, the wounded healer, it comes from a lot of shamanic traditions, in a sense. The concept of the wounded healer is known as one whose mission or purpose or life path is to heal others by going through the journey of healing for themselves. So that means it's typically a lot of healers that you might know, especially if you're talking about a lot of holistic or natural healers, people who are just called onto the healing journey. We all often have our own struggles and our own things that we need to deal with. And of all people who are in need of healing, healers are the least likely to go and seek it. Oftentimes we might be misguided into thinking that we know best because we're the healer. And so there's a lot of lessons of growth and expansion there for us to get over our own ego, for us to recognize that the healing we're sharing with others, we're teaching to others, initially starts within ourselves, for us to face those hypocritical voices of, being a healer, but yet not healing yourselves. Just like a lot of, mentors and coaches and all of these different things, as we learned over the years, that it's more paramount than anything for us to take time out and do that same work we're offering to the world, to do that same work for ourselves. And so that's where I've been the last year or so. I had to take a step back from the YouTube, from the pressures, from this type of work. I had some health complications and I need to focus on me. A lot of times we're not always doing what we need to do for ourselves. And it takes a certain level of awareness to come to that place of realizing that it is important. We're here to take care of ourselves just as much as we want to give to others. At some point along the lines, most journeys lead us to this place where we recognize that we cannot get too much further ahead in life without the rest. And at the same time, we cannot allow what's happening with the rest to detract us from our own personal path. And so there's that give and take that's always needed. And that is part of the lesson when we talk about the wounded healer. Healers who are on this path where we're needing to learn and actually do the work and actually implement these lessons for ourselves. This is also how we become more solidified in what we're doing and in our knowledge and in our power and our ability to heal and our tools that we use to heal. This is where we really cultivate it. Working with our spirit guides, this tapping in, this meditating, this navigating our own mental states, navigating our physical states. There's all of these different elements. But that is a main crux, is really being able to reflect and recognize and do this work that we're also trying to offer to others. And so with that, I've been taking some time off. I've had multiple surgeries. I've had other complications flare up and rise. I do suffer from a blood condition. I was born with a blood disease called sickle cell, and so that is something that's always with me throughout my whole life. And it seems so weird to me that I've been called to this path of healing when I'm constantly in the state of needing to heal myself. So there comes a bit of that sense of inauthenticity, that sense of being a fake, maybe, or that sense of not really being worthy of, say, the title of a healer. So this brings us back around to that thought of what exactly is healing. And really, only you can really tell you if you are healed. If we look at traditional medicine, we're talking about, do we have tangible, measurable, proven evidence that there has been some physical, biological change, right? Like I can do a blood test with you this week and your blood numbers can tell me a certain thing, right? And your blood numbers can tell me, oh, you have cancer or whatever. And so according to traditional medicine, until I do another blood test on you, and that blood test gives me information and gives me different numbers that suggest or that prove you are over that cancer is healed, or whatever the case may be. You are not considered healed. You are just considered undergoing treatment, or however they might say it. However, in life, healing is malleable from person to person. This is the reason why we have symptomatic approaches to healing in some traditions, right? Some people look at different symptoms and just treat symptoms, and we go through these partial healings, right? Where maybe you have the flu or you have some full-blown infection, right? And then you might, well, I'm sniffling today, so you take something for the sniffles. Well, I have a fever today, so you do something for the fever, and you do these things to deal with the symptoms as they come and mitigate them. And for some, that is enough. That is enough to keep them operating at a functional level, and that to them can be considered healing, right? Healing on another level for some can be learning how to cope, learning how to cope with what is, learning how to manage life despite the physical or emotional dis-ease. So healing can really play out in our lives in a lot of different ways, not just about the physical body healing, but we can focus on our mental, and there's places in our mindscape that might need healing, in our emotional spectrum that might need healing. There are places that just in our life we need healing, healing in our relationships, healing in the way we communicate. There are always ways that we can add and grow and help cultivate. And in a sense, that is what healing is. Healing is almost a continual evolution of growth. We are almost always in a state of incompleteness. And this is not to say we are not full and whole as the beings, the beautiful beings that we are, but the beautiful beings that we are also expansive and full of potential. And growing into that, in a sense, is healing. So with that said, for me, as I've gone through this past year, I've been focused on my healing. I've been focused on the cultivation that I've had to undergo. And it was strange because for a while there, I felt really, really disconnected. I felt disconnected from myself. I felt disconnected from spirit. I felt disconnected from God. I felt disconnected from everything that mattered, that was important. And so through this process, I have had to work on my emotional, mental healing and well-being, learning how to accept myself, learning how to accept the fact that I have a life where I'm constantly carrying this burden, this cross that is sickle cell, that I'm constantly balancing this fine line between wellness and living a healthy life, and carrying an anchor of pain constantly on this edge of back and forth. This past year, after the previous year, past year being hit with other things, it became heavy for me emotionally, and I had to spend time healing that. I could not come and give of myself to anybody else feeling that way emotionally or mentally. I couldn't connect to my guides. I couldn't connect to spirit. I couldn't connect to my own healing energy, my higher self. None of that. I couldn't really feel it. All I could do was go through the motions day to day, go to the hospital, go to the doctor's appointments, see my acupuncturist, see my therapist, take my medicine, because all I could do was operate in the physical, because that's all I really had left. And so I spent a lot of time focusing on going through those motions of what I had to do day to day. During that time, I was also doing that kind of shadow work that's needed to heal the mental, to heal the emotional. Like I said, for a while, I felt so disconnected, and I felt a lot of guilt and shame for not doing the work that I'm passionate about, for not doing the work that I feel called to do, which is here, which is connecting with y'all, which is helping to heal and uplift others, right? So feeling disconnected, feeling that guilt and shame, I had to do work to process that and to get the hell over it, because truth be told, yeah, things don't go our way sometimes, and we have to persevere. This is part of life, and this is one of those lessons that's always comes back to me whenever I go through any of these issues and these moments in my life, these stumbling blocks where I fall and start picking yourself back up. Even Rocky Balboa says it when he's talking to his son. It's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep going. Get knocked down 7 times. Can you get back up that 8th time? That's success. That's the win. That's what I do. So that said, I went through this process of going through the physical journey, and then I started to get lit back up. As I started to accept what was, as I started to gracefully be in the process that I was in, things started to connect more, finding gratitude and appreciation for the blessings, for the fact that I could go through such a long journey and still be provided for, still be able to make my ends meet, and still be able to pay bills, all of these beautiful things. And so as I'm doing the work and I'm starting to feel mentally and emotionally better, I tap back in, start writing things back in the journal, find my way back to sitting, to doing my meditations. Little by little, I find my way back to my breath work. And throughout the time, more and more physical healings occurring, and in the sense of wounds closing, in the sense of eyes healing, vision returning, ability to walk coming back, return of the energy levels, a return of my passion, that excitement. I'm finally coming out of this tunnel, finally coming out of this dark night. Initially, I was a little hesitant to come back out because I wasn't sure I had much to offer. And lo and behold, a couple of weeks of meditation and reflection, and I realized how much I actually did learn. The healing I learned with the emotional and the mental, learning to forgive myself, learning to accept, learning to let go and release shame and guilt, learning to process the way I value myself and the way I see my worthiness in my life in society. All of these things offered me new tools and new insights that I could share, that I could offer. Cultivated a new style of breath work. I cultivated a new style of meditation that I've developed, some new approaches and techniques. My energy healing skills has stepped up and gone above and beyond. I've been working with a shaman and reading up on my shamanic practices and developing those skills. I learned a lot about how to use energy and my physical voice in healing modalities. So there was so much happening below the surface that I did not realize until I hit the end. I come to the end of it, and I take some time for reflection. See, when you're self-aware, you're always kind of learning, even when you're not really aware that you're learning. Go figure how that works. But the point is, that is the path of the wounded healer. If you can pick yourself back up that 8th time after being knocked down the 7th, you won. Take the win. You're healing. And that's beautiful. Peace and blessings, y'all. It's your boy Zay. I'll be back on another one.